set to live chat by default, and it refuses to do so. It's that freaking YouTube. Anyway, well, I'm on a bit of a road trip. Actually, it's going to be a 12-hour road trip when you add everything up. So, and it'll involve a hotel this time. The fun thing is, I will be meeting family to pick up my son and his dog, and then we're going to go home, and then I'm going to introduce his dog, which is a, hey, good morning, Red, which is a wiener dog mix, he's a Dachshund mix, and introduce him to my Vikings, which will inevitably lead to a lot of barking and chasing, hey, coffee, and other chaos. So I guess it's a good road trip. And of course I'm on call for work, so inevitably someone will call me and make me pull over. But what is this guy towing? And oh, I see what he did. So there's a whole side business in Texas. People go to the, hey, what's going on, Papas? People go to the auctions. They buy messed up vehicles. They come over the border. They're actually coming from Mexico. They buy messed up vehicles. They pay cash. They get a license, the whole thing. Hey, Red. Thank you, Red. They go back to Mexico and they rebuild them, or they use the parts to rebuild other cars. And then they resell them in Mexico. The cost for the vehicles there is much cheaper than it is here. And it's actually a really lucrative business. And it's legit, right? I mean, they come in here, they fly into places like Dallas, right? And this is legal. They fly in with their passport and their little purchase orders or whatever. They go to the auction house, they buy a bunch of cars, and then they'll tow them back. They'll buy one that works and a trailer, which a trailer for a car is what, like $1,000? And they'll tow back a couple of vehicles and resell them in Mexico and make 10 grand. It cost them 2 or 3. So, hey, Lucky, good morning. Unfortunately, they don't always mark the vehicles very well. So you're hauling ass on the highway, and all of a sudden there's this dude going 45 miles an hour. And Lucky, you've seen this. I know you've seen this, and so has Red October. Hey, Moonsprout, when the guys come over the border to buy the messed up vehicles to tow them back to Mexico to rebuild and resell, which is actually really lucrative for them. But now they're getting better because the cops were pulling them over, but they don't always mark the vehicles that are in tow. And so, you're hauling ass, you're doing 70, 80 miles an hour on the highway, and all of a sudden you come up on a dude going 40. Hey, GMA Nana. So I was watching some of the videos the other creators were making about the explosions in Roosevelt Island, which I think is actually Con Ed screwed up. Con Ed's the utility company up there, or used to be. I don't know who they are now. But I find it interesting that the earthquake happened right around the same time as these explosions on the island. And I wonder, from a geophysical standpoint, if even a minor earthquake, and I think the Angry Preppers touched on this, that a minor earthquake caused something to rupture. And so I don't think this was like some terror attack. I think, nature will, even if you don't have active fault lines, there's faults everywhere. So inevitably it may affect something. Hey, Joe snuck in on me there. So you think about it, New York City, unlike, say, Texas, which has a lot of different lithologies, the New York City area is very hard rock. That's why New York City, I mean, they're saying it's starting to subside, it's starting to sink a little bit now, but it's been where it is with all these buildings for, a couple of centuries, right? Whereas, Houston or New Orleans are struggling with rising. The water's not rising, they're going down. The cities are going down. It's because of where they're built. The earth under Houston, New Orleans is bayou, it's swamp. So it tends, hey Pilgrim, hey Oops, it tends to decay and Hey, Jetmac, good to see you this morning. Rapture ready. Hey. All right, now the sun's not right in my face, so I can not be blind. So, just for context, right, the rock in New York is very hard, and it's very consolidated. In other words, it's not prone to shifting. It has very limited fault lines. And so, well, that's cool. That sunburst effect. That's not on purpose. The sun's like over my left shoulder here. Hey, Mad Shad. So that rock is not typically something that moves. Now, West Texas isn't either, despite all the fault. Oh, that made it worse. There we go. That's better. Despite all the fault lines in West Texas, it normally doesn't have seismic activity here unless we cause it, right? With the drilling and whatnot and fracking, and we hit a fault line and we create our own earthquakes. And we know this, right? The energy sector knows they do that. Hey, Pilgrim. So they're trying to monitor it better and understand why that happens when it does. But the New York State, New York City in particular, shouldn't move. The problem is with that, when it's very hard rock, if it does move, if it shifts, shakes, they say there are not a lot of active fault lines. That's the faults that come to the surface. You can have a fault line a mile, 2 miles down in the earth and not know it's there until it shifts. So that, what I think happened in New York State, and New York City in particular, which actually happened in Queens, it's funny. There was one up there when I was a kid, if I recall correctly. But a shift in that solid a rock will shake the crap. Hey, Rep Carl, will shake the crap out of the rock, right? Because it's really solid. It doesn't have any, for lack of a better description, it doesn't have any jiggle. It doesn't have any give. Whereas the rocks in, say, Houston and other places, because it's softer, it absorbs the vibration more. It absorbs some of that energy. This doesn't. So I'm wondering if that seismic event may have caused a rupture in natural gas or some other power line, ultimately leading to the manhole explosions in Roosevelt Island. That would make 100% sense. If I remember correctly, Roosevelt Island is in between Brooklyn and Queens and Manhattan. So, hey Dan. So, when I saw that, I was like, oh, y'all had a size event. And then, like, they're reporting at the same time. Things are exploding in Roosevelt Island. And I'm like, y'all did not build a safety factor for seismic events. Time, look away or pass the slope. Nice, Joe. Oh, if San Andreas goes, that would be bad. They'll feel that all up and down the coast. That would be pretty rough, and they're overdue. But they've been saying they're overdue for a while. When they say they're overdue, there should be a massive earthquake out there in the next 1,000 years, something like that. Like when geologists speak, we're overdue. Remember, geology is in terms of tens of thousands of years. So like, oh yeah, we have one every 50,000 years, and it's been 45,000, 49,000 years since the last earthquake. Well, that's a 1,000-year window there, guys. So yeah, it could happen like any time, but probably not like imminently. But you never know. What that does bring up is those naturally occurring wild cards, right? Earthquakes, hurricanes you see, right? Aliens coming out of the Earth's crust. Prep for that. Dude, if there's damn chupacabras coming out, well, okay, and then that begs the question, is the chupacabra an alien or is it one of ours? And would the chupacabra fight with the aliens? Those are questions I have. You know, Godzilla fought with Rodan. Rodan didn't belong on this planet. So, you know, just saying. I don't think chupacabras have had any affairs with Godzillas. I'm just throwing that out there. You know, Epstein's list has come out. We don't want to conjecture on Godzilla. But to the point, I don't know if aliens are coming out of the ground. But those are wild card, naturally occurring events that are very difficult to plan for, right? A hurricane you typically know is coming, especially in the modern day. Maybe 200 years ago you didn't, but now you do. Bad weather, the Texas freeze, storms, even tornadoes, which move fast. End of the laws. What were the stupid lizards called? The skizak or something? The keycack? I can't remember what the hell they were called. The stupid lizards with the little thing on their head and the bug eyes. I know some of you who are in my age group know what I'm talking about. But some of these events are very hard to plan for. And, to me, it begs the question, okay, if there was a seismic event and it affected Roosevelt Island that way, Sleestack, thank you. I don't know if that's how it was spelled, but that's how it sounded. Yes, Sleestack. If there was a seismic event, let's say it's naturally occurring, that affected Roosevelt Island, busted gas lines, whatever, did it do anything to the subways? Did it do anything to the tunnels going under the highway? Like, what else has been affected by that? As an engineer, after Hurricane Harvey, I know there were civil engineers going through all the overpasses and bridges all around the city because they knew the water would affect, that massive water hitting a lot of these overpasses could structurally affect those overpasses and bridges and buildings, so they were inspecting them all. So, or is New York doing that? And then question 2, you never see Chukka and TRP in the same place at the same time. Chukka was the little, Wookiee looking guy, wasn't he? I'm trying to remember. I thought it was. Well, you never see me and Chewbacca in the same place. I don't go around going to people, but you never know. I probably could do that. But what I was saying, if you're commuting, if you're traveling, that just emphasizes the need for a good get-home bag setup for commuting purposes. When I was commuting in Houston, when I actually had my own office or I had my own cube, I had the bougie cubes. You have like regular cubicles, and then you get the bougie cubes that have actual walls and a door. I had the one with walls and a door. It was the bougie cube. But I had my own lockable, baby locker. I had a get-home bag in there. Now, granted, I was on the same side of town I was on the north side of Houston, and I lived on the northwest side, so I was on the same side of town. But I kept a bag in my car, and Mad Shad, I bet you would. Mad Shad should dress as Chewbacca for next Halloween. That would be awesome. A live stream in costume, but we don't tell anyone who's who other than, the host. So, if I'm hosting, I'm the only one who says who I am, and they have to figure out who everyone else is in costume. That would be freaking hilarious, dude. We'll get Devil Dog in on that one. I can't find where the hell the sunshade needs to go. Hey, fam. Hey, Loretta, what's going on? So, what happened in New York really emphasizes the need to have a good get-home setup. I honestly believe that the majority of Americans, because think about it, we're population heavy in the cities, right? We all agree on that. Most of the city folks are not prepping the same way the rural, the suburban, or the country urban. And when I say country urban, I'm talking about cities 1 million or less in the country, right? Like West Texas, Central Texas. You have these cities, but they're small cities, a couple of 100,000, maybe 500,000, surrounded by farms, right? In the middle of nowhere. I'm talking about the New Yorks, the Chicagos, the LAs. That's what's going to really hurt most Americans. Now, I'm going to reference the stupid movie, Leave the World Behind, right? Where they hack the Teslas and they all start crashing, or the electric cars start freaking out, right? That's hypothetical, but it doesn't have to be something that outrageous. It could be an earthquake. It could be a lightning strike blowing up a power plant. Hey, book club. And those kind of scenarios, imagine being in your office. Imagine being in your train your subway trying to get home. That would absolutely suck. So if anything, what I used to do, and I'll just share my own, what I did, is I would commute to downtown Houston to visit business partners. My office was on the north side of Houston. I knew from my office to my house on foot, my best calculation was going to be a 2 to 3 hour walk. If I was downtown trying to walk all the way to the north side, it would be overnight. It would be 8 to 12 hours, depending on if I could make a straight run or if I had to go through side streets because something was going on. And my office is a John Deere. Well, then you could drive your office home, man. You'd just be like, oh, look, the apocalypse has happened. It's apocalypse 30. I'm going home. Bye, guys. And just John Deere. But this is something we all need to think about because we have get-home bags in our trucks, right? Take a long walk through subway tunnels. It's got to be fun. You know, when you say that, it reminds me of Cloverfield, where the kids are like, let's run through the subways to go to the other side of Manhattan. And then those freaking things were down there and chased them all over the place. God, Cloverfield was such a great movie, but it gave me an absolute headache because the angle of the camera gave me dizzies. But you really, if you commute, you live in a city or near a city, you really need to consider actually modularizing your get-home stuff. So I have a get-home bag that stays in my truck. When I worked in an office, my office had a get-home bag as well. Well, Prepper Book Club, I actually brought my daughter and all her besties, they were teenagers at the time, to go watch that movie. And 2 of the girls had to run out because they got motion sickness on the big screen, and they threw up their popcorn. They were like, the movie was so good, but it made me sick. They could watch it on TV, but on the big screen, they got absolutely messed up. No, Joe, the first one. 10 Cloverfield Lane was good, but it was a lot different setting. Oh, you sat up front. Ooh. Yeah, it'll make you sick, for real. By the way, the most epic birthday party I threw for one of my kids, well, actually it was a party for both my sons. We rented a theater overnight because we knew the owner was a small theater. We set up Star Wars movies in one theater and a PlayStation on the other one and an Xbox. And they were playing Halo and Call of Duty on a 30 by 30 foot screen. And they were running to the bathroom puking because they were getting head spins from playing video games on a big ass screen with surround sound, which I thought was awesome because then they got real quiet. But any case, yeah, chuds. But you gotta think, if you're commuting, you gotta plan for the possibility that you may not be in your vehicle when something happens. So you're gonna have to, let's say you commute downtown New York, let's use New York City or Houston, right? Downtown Houston, and you live on the north side. Say you live in the Woodlands or Conroe, which is a ways away. You may be in your vehicle. You may drive to the parking lot, take the bus in, and something happens, you're stranded. Or you could be in your office and something happens, and you can't get the bus now. You can't get the subway, or you can't get to your car. Let's say you're in one of those parking garages that the door closes. If the power's out, how are you going to get your car out? So if you don't have a get-home bag in your car, you cannot access your vehicle. You may want to, right, Mad Chat, exactly. You want to keep a kit at work, a kit in your car, and then, your stuff at home. It also helps if you have friends that live in different parts of the city. So I had a coworker. So, Houston's kind of like a wagon wheel, right? So you have Houston, you have highways, north, south, east, west, and then you have these concentric loops, 610, Beltway 8, and now the Grand Parkway. And it looks like a bullseye. I had friends who lived in all 4 quadrants of the bullseye, and yeah, I mean, that's terrible to steal gas, but you have to get there, right? So if you're downtown, and something happens and the parking ride is disrupted, whether it's a train or a bus, how the hell are you going to get back? Hey, now stay on the lanes, dude. How are you going to get to the vehicle? So you really want to consider, if you can lock your desk or you have a locker, have an EDC of some type, like a go bag or an assault pack, if you will. For those of you who are military guys, an assault pack in your locker or in your office. I work from home, I'll be fine. I'll own oceanfront property. Right, and there's certain things you can't plan for, right? The earthquakes, you don't see them. Hey, Canadian, you don't see the earthquakes. You can see the tornadoes to a point, right? Tornadoes move quick, but usually they'll say, hey, this storm system is coming, and it looks like it can create tornadoes, so you can kind of be ready for it. Earthquakes come out of nowhere, right? Industrial accidents, like an explosion, like the train wreck in Ohio, they come out of nowhere. Now, it should be in your risk matrix, right? You should know, wow, I live near a railroad that transports garbage. I got my AK, lives at work. There you go, see? Big set of bolt cutters. So one of my coworkers, who's actually out in West Texas now, we were both in Houston, they moved us out here. He made a map that he kept in his car of all the golf courses he highlighted in town. And he said, in the event something happened, and he's a prepper. He said, in the event something happened, he said, I was going to go to the nearest golf course, because who the hell's going to go to a golf course, right? There's a shit hit the fan, everyone's running home, right? They're all freaked out. He said, I would get a golf cart and go up the trails, the parks, because everyone's going to be on the highways. He said, I would go in the parks and use the golf cart and get as far as I can before the battery dies. And then he said, if that doesn't work, hold on, these guys are all, I don't know why one semi cut the other one off. Now he's going slow and pissed off the first guy. It's like, come on, dudes. Can we drive like grown-ups? No, apparently we can't drive like grown-ups. I love that. The trucks are having an argument. Hey, KP, and then here comes Speed Racer on the left lane going zing. It's like, all right, all of y'all. Anyway, so again, what happened in New York, I don't think was evil. I think it was a seismic event that may have precipitated what happened in Roosevelt Island. But plan for the possibility of you being separated from your primary get-home bag if you can't get to your vehicle, or if you're commuting. Do you have a good EDC? So let's go back to my example. You're in downtown Houston. Let's say you live on the north side or the west side where the big suburbs are, and you go to the parking ride and you take the big-ass bus in. So you have a get-home bag in your car. You should probably have a kit in your office. And then I'm still working on being a grown-up. You should probably have something decent in your backpack, your day-to-day stuff. For example, if I had to go downtown and wear business shoes, I would probably leave a pair of business shoes at my office and maybe an extra change of business clothes, and I would commute in blue jeans and you know, t-shirt and jacket. I would look like some schlep going to work. Then when I get to the office, I would change. Now, if that's not an option, you do what my sister did. When we lived in New York, she worked in Manhattan. She lived in Brooklyn. She would wear hiking boots in the subway. She kept her heels in her purse. After a time, she just kept black, brown, and red heels, I don't know why the red ones, in her office at work. And she kept a pair of sweatpants, I think sweatpants or blue jeans, in her duffel bag that she went back and forth with. And she said if there was an emergency, because if she was wearing like a business dress, she said I could pull the jeans under the dress and then take the dress off and I had jeans on. And she said now I was in sneakers or boots and blue jeans. And she said now I could move, which I thought was really ingenious, which is something I never thought of, is women wearing skirts. Skirts are not the best SHTF clothes. Yeah, unless you're wearing a kilt and you're a Viking or some shit like that. Uh, so you real guys, when you hear about stuff like this, a seismic event in a city and then fires and whatnot, I didn't think terrorism. I didn't think the Slee Stack attacked or anything like that, or Cloverfield monster. I was actually thinking, shit, if I was in the subway and that shit happened, I'd be stuck in a tunnel somewhere. Do I have a functional flashlight so if they open the doors, I can get out? If I get out of the train, where do I go? Do I know how to... Am I familiar enough with what's inside a subway tunnel to recognize the emergency exits? Oh, Celtic. I don't know why I said Viking. Although Vikings didn't... What the hell did Vikings wear? I don't even know. I don't know why I said that. You're right. The Scots and the Irishmen wore kilts. Although I guess you could be a Viking and wear a kilt if you want to do something different. Yeah, that's right. That's not even the correct reference. That's embarrassing. Anyway, but point being, when you guys commute, if you're commuting, make sure you're factored in not just your destination or where you left your vehicle, but if you have to take a third-party transportation to get somewhere, what do you have with you? Same in the airplanes, right? I'm limited, and I've done videos on this, I'm limited with what I can bring on an airplane, right? My knives and anything that's more fun has to go in my checked luggage. So I can bring a flashlight, I can bring a first aid kit, a tourniquet. They've let that fly. The TSA has been very cool about it. You know, KP, I've seen guys wear them at clay shoots when it gets really hot. They'll wear like skivvies, they'll wear their boxers and a kilt. I saw a guy doing that. And he, for the record, he is Scottish. And we're like, why the kilt? And he's like, it creates airflow. So I'm like, all right, that's fine. I shouldn't ask that question. Now I have that image in my head. But, you know, it was cooler than blue jeans for sure. Yeah, airflow, good grief. That's what happens. You ask a Scotsman a dumb question, you're going to get an answer that you may not want to hear. But anyway, folks, when you hear about stuff like that, ask yourself, real Scott, yeah, well, but we're shooting, you don't want to, and we got scorpions and shit that crawl up your leg here. That was, in light of the environment, is probably a good move. Hey, good morning, Random. Although one of the guys in the veterans group sent me a picture of a tactical kilt that had a belt that had molly loops on it, and I'm like, why would you need that? And he said, I go to the Renfest every year. And I'm like, okay, I could see that now. He's also the one that is drunk before we show up at the parties. So there's that. But in any case, guys, going back to the original topic, when you have those kind of things that you cannot predict, like the earthquake, and then it spawns other incidents like the fires, which is what I really think happened, because it makes sense, right? You shake a bunch of very rigid rock that has pipelines of gas, electricity, whatever running through it, or has electrical conduits, and you crush or short out stuff, it's going to cause secondary incidents. So make sure you factored in not only your destination and your vehicle, but third-party transport, whether it's a subway, whether it's a bus, or even a surface train or a train. I'd much rather get caught on a surface train where I can at least go out and I'm on the ground level than be in a subway, because I don't know what's down there. I don't know if I open a door, I'm going to get, H2S from a sewer come at me and kill me. So, there's other variables. On the flip side, if it's a nuclear blast and you're on the surface, you're kind of fucked. Whereas if you're in the subway, you have a good chance of getting away. So, again, barring some really outlandish stuff, make sure you factor in what do you have on your person when you be. If you have to get separated, if you get separated from your vehicle, and do you have something in your office? Because even if you drive to work, you park in the parking garage, and let's say the parking garage is not accessible to you, right? The gates won't come up, the door won't open because the power's out, whatever. There's a riot, you can't run across the street to your car. Do you have what you need in your office to change clothes, put on something functional, and be able to take action? Previous live stream, when you prep, a lot of prepping is to, yeah, civil defense videos are great, Joe. I don't do a good enough job of watching them all. Honestly, I need to watch more of them. But make sure that you factor this kind of stuff in. Remember, I said on the last live stream, or a few live streams ago, preparedness is not just about having stuff, it's about giving yourself options of what you can and can't do. The less stuff you have, the less choices you have, the less skills you have, the less options you have. So if you can't prep equipment, you can prep skills. Like to Joe's point, watch civil defense videos and you'll be like, that's a really good idea, and I could do that for $5. Instead of buying, the $100 widget on Amazon, you can go repurpose something you have in your garage and make a tool that will fit that purpose. Like, okay, here's a great silk cock, which is the key used to open water on commercial buildings when they take the little spigot handle off. It's different shapes. Do you have one? Is one in your butt? I know I got one back here. I also have a multi-tool. That's something people won't think about. A water bottle, they'll bring a water filter, but if you don't have water to filter, what good is the filter, right? You're going to have to access water. Things like that. So folks, when you're prepping, especially if you commute or travel, not just your vehicle, factor in if you have supplies at your destination, i.e. your office, and do you have an amenity to bring with you as your EDC? Because if I'm going from one side of town to downtown to go to my office and I get caught in the middle, I'm going to go in the direction that's shortest. So if I'm almost to my office, I will actually probably go to the office if I know I have a get-home bag there, go get my bag, reorganize myself, and then make my decision as to which direction to go. Oh, hey, Auntie Aunt Jack. If I'm closer to my vehicle, I'm not going to go downtown. I'm going to turn around and head back to my vehicle and either try to drive home, and if that's not an option, I'm going to take the gear from my vehicle and I'm going to start heading down on foot, or if I have a bike hidden in my truck or something, I'll do that. Make sure you factor, hey, Grandma, what's going on? Chains, tow straps, also ratchet straps, and bungee cords. I found that bungee cords, the short ones, are really handy if you're walking and you find a tarp that got blown from a construction site. You're like, I can use that tarp, but instead of holding it in your hands, you roll it up, you bungee it, and you attach it to your backpack. And now you bebop along and you've acquired a new item. You've scavenged it from the floor. I'm always looking, when I go for walks in the woods or in the park, I'm always looking for stuff that has been dropped or lost by others and say, is that useful to me? I found knives. I found actually usable, like, small tarps. I found all sorts of weird stuff. I also find nasty things that I don't want to touch, so, be aware of that. But again, ladies and gentlemen, when you're commuting, when you're traveling, make sure you have factored in not only having stuff at your destination, i.e. your office, not just in your vehicle, but also are you carrying enough to get you to A or B if you get stopped midway, especially if you're in a train. I keep rolls of nylon cord everywhere. So, oops, I lost my nylon cord. I was trying to tie something down in my truck, and I had a prepper fail. It's not where I thought it was. Where I thought it was, I had a roll of toilet paper, which was good, but my rope was gone. Now, I don't know if Sassy stole it from me, because that's happened before, or if I pulled it and I forgot to replace it. So, when I get to the next city, I may be making a stop. And by the way, if you're missing anything while you're traveling, Love's and Pilot truck stops have great, the trucker section, not the store in general where you get candy bars and bullshit, but the trucker area has some of the coolest shit. Solar chargers, power packs, headsets. If you're traveling, even if there's not an emergency, stop at a Love's or a Pilot or Flying J. Go to the trucker area and look at all the goodies in there. And they're not bad price, because remember, it has to be affordable for the truckers. See what's there. But anyway, folks, I wanted to share those thoughts with you. I might do another live stream today, because I'll be driving fucking all day today. I'm going to hit 3 cities today. So the drive itself, if I did it straight, would be 6 hours. It's probably going to be an 8-hour journey, and then 6 hours back the other way. So I'm going to be on the road a bit. But ladies and gentlemen, just keep those things in mind. Chevy 1968s. Get in the door with the dinner food. Yes, the tire thumper. So one was aluminum. I'm like, this is a baseball bat. Like, there's no way I could get away with this. I want to get the tire thumper that looks like a little wooden shillelagh, like the old Irish cops used to have, and just keep it back here, right? Because, I mean, it's good to have a non-lethal option. Like, if you get a dog, I don't want to kill the dog, but I want the dog to go away. You crack the dog once or twice, he's going to run. Or you get a meth head, you whack him a couple of times, typically they run away. So Joe's giving lessons on lock picking. A wire hanger, I can get into a bunch of stuff. So, folks, just factor those things in while you're traveling. Make sure you have enough on your person in the event you have a seismic event, an unpredictable event. You can go either to your office and get your gear there, or retreat to your car and get your stuff there and make your way. All right. And again, and to Rapture Ready's point, having a sense of focus and faith, regardless of how you practice faith, is important. All right. And I'm not saying go be churchy or anything if that's not your thing, but have a success mentality, have a success attitude, that I will persevere through these things. Right? I mean, that's why we do what we do. It's to be able to get through things. Yes, and Farmer, okay, and before I go, true story to Farmer's point. I had an uncle when I moved in Texas. He was already here. He was from the Russian Jewish side of my family, which is a whole nother story. Actually, the German Jewish side of my family. Anyway, he had a pickup truck. This was an older truck that had 2 fuel tanks in it. And I asked him, how'd you put 2 fuel tanks in there? He was driving to Las Vegas back in the 80s when there was really no gas stations or anything. Like, you left that one town and there was nothing for 2 hours, and he didn't top off over half a tank. And they almost ran out of fuel. They barely made it. And he said, never again. So he installed a second fuel tank and had a switch to switch from one to the other under his dashboard. I learned from him. When I bought this truck, I got the one with the 36-gallon tank. So it's expensive as shit to fill it. Hey, Sky Girl, what's going on? But I'll tell you what, I like having 36 gallons when I'm on a road trip. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you on that note. But remember, and Sky Girl could probably speak volumes to what you need to have with you while you're going from A to B. But make sure you have something both in your vehicle and at your destination. And make sure you have enough with you to get to one or the other if something happens. But guys, girls, I will leave you with that. You guys be safe, be careful out there. And I will see you all maybe in a couple of hours, depending on how this trip goes. So God bless, Godspeed. We'll see you all later. Be safe this weekend if I don't see you guys again.